the road of being connected to finite things only if we believe in the teachings of the Almighty God Allah. It say by his grace, the gate of liberation is found. And every time we open these doors on the second Sunday of the month, we open up that gate of what? Liberation. Because we given every grand body the liberty to present the things that they can do what? To help Allah and the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. See, we got to take man out of this, Moors. Take man out of it when y'all having them secret meetings. Take man out of it when y'all going into them higher chambers, and just take Allah in there to guide those meetings. And I guarantee you, y'all going to get some work done. It said he cannot be established. Chant his true name and contemplate on what? His greatness and glory. It said by his grace, the gate of liberation is found. He himself is immaculate and pure. Those who serve him are honored. And even if you're known throughout all the continents of the world and followed by all with a good name and a good reputation, even as sheiks, we get all the praise and the fame throughout the world. But still, if you do not have the blessedness of Allah with his glance of grace, then who cares? Islam, Moors. Right. Moors, nobody cares about our titles. Nobody cares what we done 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. You can have the best name on the whole Moorish circuit. Oh, everybody loved the brother Pray the Ill. Oh, everybody loved Turn the Ill. Everybody loved the brother Edwards Ill. Everybody loved the brother Bratton Bay. But if Allah's not glancing down on them masters, who cares? Who cares? The key is that you have a good name with the Almighty God, Allah. Stop trying to prove your point to merely man all the time. I think that's where we hit these stumbling blocks. He trying to prove to Pray the Ill. He trying to prove to Bratton Bay. He trying to prove to Turn the Ill. And we forgot all about Allah and the Prophet. That's the one that's supposed to take the glance and look at the work that you're doing. Allah. The record says if Allah ain't glancing on you, who really cares? It goes on to say, the path, all us on the path of the road to Islam, it said the path of the faithful should never be blocked. So anybody that's in here that's among the faithful, no matter how many times you stumble on this road, no matter how many times you fall on this road, if you stay faithful to the Prophet and Allah, these not my words, these Allah words. He said your path will never be blocked. Your path will never be blocked if you stay faithful. It goes on to say, the faithful shall depart this earth with honor and fame. How many of us had buried some masters in the Moorish Science Temple of America? And we give them the highest honor that we can give them because they was a part of what? The faithful one. When you're the faithful one, you leave this physical in what? In honor. It goes on to say, the faithful find the door of what? Liberation. The faithful uplift and redeem their family and relations. The faithful are saved and carried across with the sheiks of the Almighty God Allah. It say countless meditations, countless loves, countless worships, countless disciplines, countless scriptures and rituals and recitations, countless of whose minds remain detached from the world. And that's why I wanted us to ascend before we started this meeting. Today we want to detach our minds from everything that's going on out there in the world. If you came to this meeting, you should already have sent prayers over your family. You should have already sent prayers over your loved ones, your wife, your children, etc. Because when we come into a setting like this, we want the cares of the world way from on our mind. And how we get the cares of the world off our mind? By ascending from the world of the countless are the givers, countless are the heroic spiritual warriors. nobody ever told y'all, let that stick in day. Because if you stay on the road as long as some of you masters said y'all did, y'all gotta be heroic warriors for the Almighty God Allah. Through all the hurt, the pain, the deceivedness, the hatred, the slander, the lewdness, the murders, the thefts. But y'all stayed on this road as what? Warriors for the Almighty God Allah. It goes on to say, who bear the brunt of the attack in the battle. Moors, y'all are bearing all the brunt of the attack on the Moor society. That's right. If you are leading the Moor Science Temple of America, you are enduring all of the brunt of the attack of everything that happened. Everything that go wrong with the movement. Don't they blame every grandbody and every leader? Sure do. Everything that go wrong. Oh, it was these Moors that didn't have it right. It was them Moors that didn't have it right. Come on. So Moors, don't take lightly when you become a grandbody or leader. It comes with a lot of hurt. It comes with a lot of pain. You got to have a lining on your stomach to be a master in the Moor Science Temple of America. It goes on to say, countless silent sages vibrating the string of his love. How can your creative potency be described? I cannot even once be a sacrifice to you. Islam, Moors. Islam. Moors, I've read that to say, let's not be too puffed up at the knowledge that we have. Because the knowledge that man have is not even 1% of the knowledge of the Almighty God Allah. So Moors, I want to thank all you Moors for coming out. You can cut the lights on, please. Mufti or Sergeant Arm. Praise Allah. I'm going to blow out this candle of unity. Islam Moors, we want to welcome everybody out, Moors. We're going to keep this going. And what we're doing is we're doing it a little different. Every second Sunday, we're going to do it. And we're going to give the grandbodies the floor so they can actually have enough time to present what they have. Because you can't present what you got in 7 minutes. And we got the muftis and the sergeant arms every set. So this first one, we decided to do this way with the guidance of my Grand Sheikh, Pray to Ill. We're going to have the floor for Bratton Bay establishments. And if I'm not mistaken, the next month is Grand Sheikh Turner Ill as versus R. Edwards Ill. So at this time, I'd like to call to this holy altar. He only want me to call him Sheikh, but he's my Grand Sheikh. Come on. I'll take the whooping later. Grand Sheikh Clarence, Pray to Ill. Islam, Islam. 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 Oh. Let the brothers give it to the chairman. Let him have y'all so much. Can you share me, Mo? Because I didn't go live yet. Can you tag me? I got one.
With your phone or tag?
Put me your phone.
Are you asking me to use your phone or tag?
Tag them now. Thank you.
Matter of fact, Sheikh, I'm gonna need you to step here to read that. Once everybody has a copy. Well, I'm only gonna be a moment.
If you Moors get you hot, let me know.
Yeah.
Islam Moors? Well, I'm gonna rise my thoughts and praise Almighty God Allah, the Father of the universe. I'm gonna praise Almighty God Allah that He is the Father of the universe. I want to praise Almighty God Allah for being the sustainer of the universe. I want to praise Almighty God Allah for all the planets, stars, and all the constellations of the universe. Because I'm just thinking now, if Allah was not the Father, the sustainer, the creator of the universe, what state of mind would we be in? Where would we be in? Imagine just for a moment the works of Satan, the devil. right here on earth. Can you imagine all the discord, all the chaos, all the trouble that he has put us through on earth? Now imagine if the devil, the great deceiver, was the father or the master or the sustainer of the universe. Can you imagine what state of mind we would be in? Can you imagine where we would be? How we would be? I mean, just look at for one moment. The prophet Noble Deuteronomy says that when we do a harm to our brother or sister, we do a wrong to Allah. Allah is the Father of the universe. Nothing happens, nothing takes place without him knowing. When we do a wrong to Allah, we can expect all the conditions that we have come through. There's no denying, there's no trying to get around it. The wrong that we have done as a people, as a whole, is no getting around. We do a wrong to Allah, and that wrong is going to come back some kind of way and tell us that we're doing wrong.
That's right.
And if we would, just imagine, once you got to imagine this, I got to put him out there. Satan, the devil, the great deceiver. If he was ruling the universe, we would have a lot more earthquakes. There would be a lot more diseases. They wouldn't have to worry about the world coming to an end because there wouldn't be no world. The world would be in all the movies that you see to show the desolation of America, of the country, of the world. That is the work of Satan the devil, the great deceiver. But Allah is the Father of the universe. And we know that Allah is love. And the result of him being love is that he is often forgiving. He is often merciful. He's always loving. And guess what? He loves us more. And imagine this. Imagine the work that we're doing today. Imagine the work of Sheikh Eric Thompson Bey. Imagine the work of Grand Sheikh Bratton Bey, Grand Sheikh Turner Ill, Grand Sheikh Edwards Hill. Thank you, Sheikhs Seabreeze Bey, for representing womanhood. Thank you, Sheikhs Thompson Bey, Sheikhs Johnson Bey, Sheikhs Timmons Hill for representing womanhood in this meeting today. Imagine these things, Moors. Imagine all the good that we can do in the name of Allah that can make things right. Just take a moment. And as you take a moment, love became manifest, Moors. Love was manifested in 19. And Moors, I'm standing there thanking you all for being that tired of hearing. Because in a very few moments, I'm going to seal up and I'm going to open up. In a very few moments. But I want to break the monotony. I want to break that wall or that crust that's not allowing us to hear what one another have to say. When I talk to Grand Sheikh Bratton Bey, I talk to this man all the time. He has a program. And you know what? Thank you, Sheikh Eric Thompson Bey, for allowing us to get a chance to hear this man's program. According to the Prophet Noble Deuteronomy. Grand Sheikh Turner Hill, we want to hear your program. I still got to work from the unity meeting that I've gone over, that we'll be going over. There's controversy surrounding all of us. Everyone that's in here right now, I'm almost sure. If there are 25 of us, 24 of us got controversy surrounding us about something that the Sheikh said so eloquently. But that ain't stopping us.
That's right.
It's not going to stop us. We all have problems, but we had the courage enough to come amongst one another and work this thing out, not from Sheikh Clarence Praise Hill, but for the benefit of our people. My heart is yearning for my people, and we have the solution. for our people. We have the problem. We can straighten the problem out there. That star that's on this flag represents more. It represents our principles. It represents love, for which is Allah. Truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The solution to all the problems that we can get up here and talk about.
That's right.
But we have to represent that. We have to say that we are these principles.
Right.
That's right.
And with that said, we'll get up here, we're gonna talk. And I know our grand sheets, I know you Moors have been fortified enough to take some questions, give some answers, to work this thing out. Because none of us know it all. It's only a portion. We all have a measure. I only have a measure of my portion, only a measure of my full portion. We have to unfold, it's like the flower unfolds to show the bud, to make a difference. And with that said, boys, I want to yield the rest of this time to Grand Chief Joel Bratton Bay to demonstrate what he's been trying to demonstrate. And most let's open up our ears. You out there in the world, open your ears. There's controversy surrounding us all. Those that love me, those that love you, those that love the next person, there are some controversies surrounding us all. So don't cast a prejudiced eye. Don't point a finger of derision. But listen to what the man has to say. Listen to each one of us have to say. We are here to uplift fallen humanity. We're here to do whatever it is we can to uplift fallen humanity.
That's right.
That's right.
And that is to be amongst each other, to meet. Again, with that said, Grand Chief Joel Bratton Bay, you have the floor, Mo. Islam!
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 Thank you, my noble brother, Grand Chief.
Thank you, Grand Chief.
Thank all of you all. Thanking the Grand Chief for establishing this meeting of love,
That's right. That's what it is.
freedom, and justice.
Mm-hmm.
All this piece of rock. Thanks for running. You gotta keep trying to face front that when you ain't gotta keep kind of tall.
Well, Mos, Islam. See, a meeting like this was long overdue.
Yeah.
And as Grand Chief Previo has stated, Brother Mo, we've been knowing each other for years.
That's right. That's right.
And I've said that, the sad part about us here in Baltimore is that we've been taught by the three great masters, but before I proceed, I want to always rise to my highest height and giving all my love and praise to Allah. And it's good to know your God. Really, it is. Because our God was taken from us, and we didn't know our God until the Holy Prophet Noble Ali brought us our nationality and birthright. And he said to us, know thyself and your Father God Allah. So it's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And if man said he knows, then he must be what he knows. So I also want to give honor to all our ancestors, those that we speak of and those that we don't. They so much a part of us, in us, and around us. They're there for us. We just need to ask. And giving honor to all of the divine prophets, namely Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and our most illustrious Hebrew prophet is none other than the Honorable Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Giving honor to all of the Moorish staff, all the officials who I greatly appreciate, all of our members and all the Moors in general, Islam, and all of you noble brothers and sisters in this great meeting today. Islam, Islam, Islam. It's an honor to be with all of you. Well, Mos, the name of the organization is the Moorish Science Assembly Divine International Movement of North American Incorporated number 13, the MoorishAmerican National Republic. And there was a lot of controversy about the movement that we're so much a part of. And so trusting that, stemming from what I've demonstrated today, we'll understand the significance of what it is, because our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and his Moorish literature
When y'all have questions, raise your hand. and then when he's ready to entertain questions, I'm just going to point at you. So anybody got any questions, raise your hand, and I'm going to point at you, and he's going to acknowledge it. Islam?
Thank you, Mo.
No problem.
Well, Mo's, our prophets gave us a warning. And I had this right here with him. Oh, here it is. You know, the prophet gave us a warning in 1928. And we got to understand the significance of what Noble Dry Leaf and how he was divinely prepared and sent to us, because you have to look at the timeline. When you deal with Act 6, there's 5 tiers of law in Act 6. And when you go to the second tier, our prophet says that we're part and parcel of this said government. And we got to understand what that word said means. Thank you, sister. Said means before. So he's taking us back to the foundation of government. We are the government. That's why on a dollar bill you have 2 seals. You have the pyramid to the left, which represents the creditors. Eagle to the right represents the Europeans, but we was first, and the reason why those seals was on the $1 bill, because we was first, the first house of Israel, the royal house. And everything is encrusted in 13, because the pyramid represents us, the house of the gods. So who was that house? It's Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, Joseph by Mary, etc. We the people of the book. Not one book, but all the books, because we was first. So our prophet made us aware of a very important situation in Act 6. And that was when he said slavery lasted until 1865. He didn't say it ended, he said lasted. So the question is, we got to know what happened. And we know that the Honorable Prophet teaches us about truth. Truth does 3 things. It sets you free, make you free, and keep you free when you know it. So we have to understand how these laws set us free, and definitely what it is that we must know to find out how they made us free. Because once we know, then we're going to continue to be free. That's right. And all this is about Noble Dry Leaf, because he was on the page. Now, for instance, when you deal with the warning, let me just deal with the warning. Now, the prophet made reference to the word recognize 7 times in the warning, 1 time in Act 6. And he also made reference to the word national 28 times in the warning, and the word national constitution 17 times. And he also made reference to the word your free national constitution 3 times. So how does that all apply to us, people? Well, let's see. Now we're going to deal with what the prophet is saying, because everything that we've done is relative to the prophet's teachings and what he wanted us to do as a collective. So check this out, Moses. When we read into the warning, and it says, through your free national name, a lot of us don't understand what the free national name is. What we know is MoorishAmerican. He said, through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth, and that are recognized by the said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and the South in unit, placing the Southern, which was at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the Free National Constitution, and this is where I'm going, the Free National Constitutional Law that was enforced in 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the Free National Constitution, now remember that the prophet is emphasizing this, to be free and equal, and since that constitution has never been changed, there's no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. Right. So now, people, let's deal with that. 14th Amendment deals with civil rights and citizenship. 15th Amendment deals with your voting rights. but he didn't make mention that the 13th Amendment wasn't applicable to us. So see now that's the science. He eliminated the 14th and 15th for us, but the 13th Amendment, the science, he put that right in our face. Because we got to understand what this 13th Amendment, how it is beneficial to us, and what these laws are that made and set us free. So let's deal with this 13th Amendment. When you go to Section 1, people, it says that we have the right to worship God according to the dictates of our own consciousness, our own. And we didn't have our own consciousness because now remember we was held as slaves, and if we all can remember the series Roots when it was on TV, the man was named Kunta Kinte. He was of Moorish descent. He was a Muslim. He knew his God Allah. He knew he needed no swine, none of that. But the main thing that he did was he had to fight to keep his name because he knew that his name was connected to his ancestry. Right. And he fought hard to keep it. They finally got him to submit. So now he's Toby Jones. So if the slave master's name is Jones, then all his slaves are Jones. If he's a Baptist in that church, slave master forced us to go into the church, and what do we see? The image of the pale-skinned nation of York, the white boy Jesus, long hair, blue eyes. They had us from the cradle to the grave because they gave us an image to play with our minds. But we know that Jesus is not the God. Jesus says, don't worship me, worship the one that sent me. Mm-hmm. But we know our God, the Hebrew God, is Allah. So dealing with that, when Kunta Kinte finally submitted himself to the term Toby, that's when that Negro was created. Because now we don't know self. Now in his generation, he was very, very in tune. He still knew of himself. But the subsequent generations, slave master said, no, I'm going to separate you from your family, your religion, and everything. And so from one generation to the next, what do we know? Nothing about self, but everything about him. And definitely not our names. So when the prophet made reference to this 13th Amendment, we got to understand which one it is. When you talk to people and you ask a simple question, do you consider yourself free? Then what do you hear? Oh, yes, I'm free to do this or that. So my question is, well, then if you say you're free, then tell me the law that freed you. That's where you're going to have a problem. Question marks. If you ask a person, are you a citizen of the government? What would they say? Yeah, I'm a citizen. So I say, well, tell me the law that makes you that citizen. Question mark. Well, people, the only law to make anybody a citizen in this government is the 14th Amendment. Our prophet says it's not applicable to us. So when you look at the 14th Amendment, Section 4, it says that this government there, check it out. In Section 4, they said they're not even going to honor. No, I'm sorry, let's go back to the first section. First section says that in order for you, it says all persons born or naturalized can become a citizen. They use the word naturalized, can be a citizen. And then they give you the state's jurisdiction. So the key word in law is person. Person means corporation, and it also means natural born. So the question is, which one are we? Let's deal with the birth certificate. A lot of us said, I'm not a slave, I'm a free person, I'm a citizen. But when you look at that birth certificate, what do you see on it? Check it out, people. You're going to see black, Negro, or colored. So you have been dehumanized. You're not even considered a human being. So that's why the prophet told us in Acts 6, he said that we lost our birthrights in 1774. 5 years later, 1779, they marked us with these slave burns, black, Negro, colored, etc. So people, if we was freed ever since 1865, then why are we still allowing this man to classify us as such? A lot of the Moors, they go into the temples to get your title zeal and bay, but that's where it stays. You haven't done anything outside of the government to let the government know that you must be recognized. See, this is a paper government, people. Wherever you go, you got to fill out a form. And when you go to these various agencies, don't they give you a form to fill out?
That's right, brother.
And they put you in a box.
That's right.
And they say, check black, African American, white, or other. And so many of us will mark black or other. And we stay away from white. Our prophet teaches us white means purity, purity means God, God means rule of the land. And if you don't want to be white, it's all about status. It's status. So we got to understand, in order to facilitate your true identity, you got to make these changes in order for the government to do what? Recognize you. Because so many of us Moors, we in society doing this or that, and then when something happens, police come up on you, they run your name, and your name still have black attached to it. And that's how they're going to deal with you. So you are more, as you say, but the system don't recognize you as that because you have made a status change within the government. And that's why so many things are happening to us as a collective, because a certain phase of the prophet's teachings we need to correct. We need to correct. It's just like, see, we have a process that our membership, when we go into the Moore School of Law and History, and that's why we have this Moore School of Law and History, because as us being the first people on the planet, the founders of civilization, we represent the history. And we also represents the law, because we were the lawgivers first. The Mosaic Code governs the whole planet, whether it's in the Holy Quran of Mecca or the Bible. It's still the Holy Quran of Mecca. That's why our prophet is saying that he draws his power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad. Now, Muhammad gave the Christians the first charter in 622. That's why this charter that we have in the Moorish Temple of America, Prophet Noble Jolly supersedes all them charters. I don't care what Masonic order you in, none of them supersedes Noble Drew Ali's charter. Charter number's 1099. Can't go no higher than that. So you got 4 on each side. Prophet's in the center. He makes the 9. He's on the 45. That's the 9, and I is 1099. As it is above, so it is below. So now, when you deal with the prophet's authority and the things that he had brought to us to make things happen, because we the question and the answer. But you can't have an answer without the question. And a lot of people don't like to ask questions. Then what questions they do ask is not official and it's not appropriate. So going back to the prophet, going back to this warning, your free national constitution. Many more that I've spoke to, when you ask, well, what is the free national constitution that Noble Drew Ali is talking about? A lot of them will say it's your divine constitution bylaws. Can't be. Prophet made reference to 1774. So the movement wasn't established back then. Right. So why can you say the free national constitution? Can't be. See, Mo, the free national constitution is the organic first 7 articles of the Constitution, which represents your free national constitution. Why is that? Because we were the governing body. We were the governance here prior to the Europeans coming. Mm-hmm. And this whole Western Hemisphere was under the authority of the Iroquois, the Union. See, the Union is older than the Constitution. Out of the Union came the Constitution, and that commenced with what? Going back to Noble Drew Ali, Free National Constitution, 1774. The Moorish president was Peyton Randolph. So you got the Articles of Association of 1774. That matured into the Declaration of Independence of 1776. Further matured into the Articles of Confederation of 1778. And thus and then, it becomes a more perfect union, 1787. Those first 7 articles, Moors, is the Moorish foundation. We are the government, but we don't know. Rome knows, but we don't know. And that's what them 2 symbols on that dollar bill represents, because we the only nation that have a dual jurisdiction. Why do you think when you go in a courtroom setting, they ask you to either swear or affirm? The affirmation is for us and the swearing is for them. We brought these Europeans into our house and made them a part of it. At the Continental Convention of 1787 with the 35 Moors and 20 Anglo-Saxons. White men dealing with status. That's what it's all about. So many of us got to understand the role that the prophet was on. So some say, well, prophet wasn't about Lincoln. Lincoln was a Moor himself. He was the 16th president. That was our 7th again. He was a Melungeon. And a lot of us,
She used what now?
Melungeon.
Melungeon.
Yeah, mix.
Okay.
Okay. And see, so then just to show how the prophet was, when they debated our freedom, y'all, they had to do it according to the Hebrew code. So why the Hebrew code? And they said the only remaining law to resolve it was the Hebrew code, was called the Hebrew/Levitical code. So where do you see this code? It's on the Liberty Belt. That word liberty and law means birthright. So when you look at the Liberty Belt, it's a map. It's a map pertaining to the promised land that we were to colonize once we were set free. Remember Martin Luther King said, one day as a people, we're going to reach the promised land.
That's what he said.
As a people.
That's what he said.
Well, he said, whoa, people, but I may not get there with you, but one day as a people, we're going to reach it. So the question is, where is this promised land and who made the promise to whom? That's what we got to know. So the Creator made the promise to Abraham that as long as the Hebrews adhered to his statutes and commandments, he would love us and protect us.
Come on, man.
And when we fell short and defiled him, what did he do? He scattered us to the four corners and punished us. So that inscription on the bell at the top, and this is constitutional law, people. Because when you go into the Constitution, March 31st, 1864, in the Senate, they debated this whole slavery issue. And that's when they said the only remaining law. So the inscription on the bell at the top, Leviticus 25:10, is the code. And it says this: ye shall hallow within the 50th year, proclaim liberty throughout all the land. All what land? Unto all the inhabitants. All who was all these inhabitants? And it shall be a jubilee unto you to do what? To return every man to his family and his possessions. So we didn't know our family until the prophet came.
That's right.
He brought us our family names.
That's right.
He said to us in Acts 6, 15, the MoorishAmericans, he's letting you know who you are descendant. He's giving your descent nature. Descendants of the who? The ancient Moabites. He said the MoorishAmericans, descendants of the ancient Moabites, and we inhabited what part? All of Northwest and Southwest Africa, which today is Northwest and Southwest America. So we have got to understand the significance of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali did. So now when you deal with the 50th year, when you subtract 1863 from the year 1913, that's 50 years. So the prophet's hollow to correlate with that Hebrew code. He said, come all ye age acts here to about your nationality and birth. He's taking it back to the inscription on the bell because it says to return every man to his family. So the prophet was the only one who brought us out nationality and birthright in order for us to be returned. But when you read that Hebrew code, it says by complying with the requirements of naturalization. It had nothing to do with the 14th Amendment. When you look up the word naturalization, it says the process, fifth law edition, the fifth law, Black's Law edition, it says the process of acquiring nationality after birth, which entitles you to the privilege of citizenship. So we don't want that. We don't want that. So now when you deal with the Hebrew code, it says by complying with that requirements, we become citizens entitled what? All the immunities and all the privileges of who? The native Hebrew, because that's who we are. So when you go into chapter 45, the prophet says, the fallen sons and daughters of North America need to love instead of hate. You don't come into the world hating anybody. Somebody got to teach you. So who are these fallen sons and daughters? Everybody in this Western hemisphere is of Moorish descent, whether you was an Inca, Mayan, Aztec, Olmec. Same people, just different tribes. You know, like when we have a family reunion, don't you have people come from out of state, interstate, different names, complexion, styles of hair, and features. But what do they have in common? They still the same family. So you do that on a stretch. So if you go take your family, you decide to move into Germany somewhere. So you be German of what? Moorish descent. Irish of Moorish descent. Go to the east. You go into Sudan, you be Sudanese of Moorish descent. Because your descent nature never changes because everything's in threes. Your nationality is validated according to what genealogy, and that genealogy is validated according to your descendation. That's how it works. Very simple. But we don't understand it because certain components of the law has been missing. So our prophet was on the page. So when you come back to this 13th Amendment, and this is crucial. So when you deal with it, he says this now. Check this out. Still in the warning. He said, there's but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and that comes only through the connection. So you got to be connected of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens. So the question is, Moses, how are we connected back into the government? This is a paper government. You got to have the right paperwork to submit to these agents for them to recognize you under the authority of noble duality. Now, we've done that. I have documents to support the authority of the prophet noble duality from the State Department, from the Congress, from the military, from the courts, and other agencies to validate noble duality's authority and how we are recognized. We have the only federal case that's been adjudicated. And check this out. The motion was that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments was never properly ratified and does not reflect the true provisions of the original 13th Amendment 22nd. And this is for MoorishAmericans across the country. They don't have jurisdiction, people. You see these brothers with these badges and stuff. See, we met with these agencies to validate the prophet's authority dealing with the things we need to do to help our people. It's not about me. I'm just doing the Father's work. So the thing is that when you in this society, just like for instance, let me tell you this, you know how things are now. If you discipline your child and you bruise that child, say the child's in school, child got a bruise, swollen face, etc. The teacher said, how'd you get that? Oh, my mother, my father beat me. You know they're coming after you, and they may take that child. Why? Because you state property, but you don't know it. Even when you get married, people, and you go to the court and get that marriage license, pastor have it, he turn it in. Do you know once he do that, you state property? Yeah. So let's read what it says. What is it? Statelessness, a legal concept describing the lack of any nationality. It denotes the absence of a recognized link between an individual and any state. So when you look at your birth certificate, people say, oh, you know, that don't apply to me. So look at your birth certificate. I guarantee you're going to see black, Negro, colored, one of those slave terms on it. So the question is that if we want the Civil War to be, if we want the Civil War to be free, and the South was winning the war until Lincoln emancipated us. We the ones fought for our freedom. The turning point of the war was Gettysburg. 7,000 of us died in a half hour there. We the ones turned the tide of the war back, but they gonna let us know that. And so, yes, okay. Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, Mo. And so when you go into these various agencies, Mo, because I'm gonna ask some questions. I mean, I'm open the floor for questions because I know you have questions, and that's good that you do. But like I said, we the question and the answer.
That's right.
So I'm gonna stop right there for a moment because I got so much I want to share.
That's right.
Where the government has confirmed everything I'm talking about. Not me, from the State Department on down. Everything. But we are the ones, I've been in meetings with these people, even David Duke of the Klan. You know, got 2 letters from him, from President Trump. And I will say this, when Obama was in the seat, we sent him communication, he never responded, but Trump did. And I don't know if y'all saw the news piece, but he came out and said that just because you born here, that don't make you a citizen. And the 14th Amendment was never ratified. He gave us the sign because some of that was in the letter. And then about a month later, he came off and said that the Constitution was a fake and a fraud. Most people that went by their heads, but he was telling the truth. But he ain't talking about the free national Constitution or the organic Constitution. He talking about the de facto 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Okay, Mo.
No, you good.
Okay.
So more, me and the Grand Sheik is on the same page. I'm listening careful to what everybody always question about this fashion. Y'all always question, y'all heard them use the word naturalization. Y'all heard them use the word status. So I hear the chatter and the questions more. This is no better time than to hear it from the man's mouth more. That's how these meetings should go. If you have questions, it shouldn't be chatter and talked about. The brother's willing to open up. So the key that I hear fussed across the Moor circuit when it comes to this brother is why he's using naturalization. He used the word status change. And there's one other point. Did y'all catch the other third one that he had, Moors? Y'all need to ask these questions because these questions always arise. So if you have any questions on those ones,
How do we ask these questions? Emphasize how these questions are.
just raise your hand.
No.
Oh, okay.
Emphasize how these questions are to be asked.
Islam. Praise the Lord.
Out of in respect.
That's right.
Do unto this man what you will have me do unto you when you get up here. Do unto him. If you want me to abuse you, abuse the next man. Abuse the brother before you. Out of respect, Morris. The man's been on the road. He's due his due. He's due our ear. Those of us that haven't had his ear for a long time. He's due our ear. Let's hear what his program is according to the prophet. Ask the respect. Give the man the respect. Ask the question. Because I got a few myself. And I'm going to ask them, and they will be in respect. I respect. Islam?
Floor is open, Mo. I'm ready to receive your questions.
Oh, go ahead. Stand and give your name and come on up, Mo. So they can pick you up, Mo. That's right.
Islam. I love to rise and praise to Allah, give honor to the Prophet Noble Ali, and to all the wonderful works he's brought unto us. Islam. My question is, naturalization and nationalization, are they the same?
No.
If they're not, then
At all.
Then I'll keep going.
Now, you want me to explain it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, yes, I do.
Okay. Let
My
me
bad.
explain that.
That was
Okay.
please. Yeah, explain it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, just hold it.
Okay.
Hold it.
Hold.
No, just hold this up. I want to bend it
You
on that page.
Okay.
Nationalization. Okay. All right, Mo, check this out. Y'all had the resurrection book, right?
Yes.
Okay. Before I get into that, now I have the definition of naturalization and nationalization. I want to know where it comes from because I don't see anything in the prophet literature saying that he naturalized or nationalized anybody. Can anybody show it to me in the prophet literature anywhere that he used either one of the words? But then remember, this is more science. Can anybody?
You talking about the founder?
Yeah, the founder. Yeah, the founder. And any of the founders' literature, can you point out the word naturalization or nationalization in any of his verbiage? Anybody? Oh, thank you, Mo. You know what? I'm gonna take this off because it's moving around. Thank you, Mo. So, anybody?
The 13th Amendment calls for naturalization.
There's nothing in the 13th Amendment that says the word naturalization, but I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna draw you some dots, but I got the floor. So, okay, well, let me explain this, Mo. See, when the prophet says that, he goes back to the free national constitution. And the reason why, when he said we are part and parcel of this said government in Act 6, it's also that word "this" is very important. When you read the Constitution of the United States of America, the preamble, It says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. So the union had to be established prior to becoming more perfect, right? And he said, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution. As you see, this Constitution. So which Constitution he's talking about? He's going back to the foundation of government. We the governance here. We are. As Moors, I keep saying, that's why them two symbols is on a dollar bill. And even when you turn that dollar bill, bring it and turn it upside down, you see the circle 7 in it, in the pyramid. Just look at the, you got it, Mo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you see, now the reason why I'm going here, because when we met with the State Department, they signed off on everything. I got documents, so I'm just not talking. They signed off on everything except when they got to our articles of incorporation. They said, Mr. Bay, you got language saying that the government is responsible for your operation. I said, absolutely. So they said, well, that's above our pay grade. You got to go to the building across the street where the lawyers are. I said, okay, point me there. Let me know who I'm supposed to see. So they called over, and I go over there. Lawyers come down the steps. They said, yeah, Mr. Bay, we had a call about your concerns. I took out this dollar bill. I said, yeah, I said, I was hearing that there's some discrepancy about our articles about the government being responsible for our operation. I took out this dollar bill. I said, sir, you see these two symbols on this $1 bill? I said, we brought you all into our house and made you a part of this government. We are the government. And I said, this pyramid represents the house of the gods. That's why it's first. On a $1 bill, everything's encrusted in 13. So when you turn it upside down, you see the 7 in the shadow and the circle. So when I did that, I said, he said, sir, that's all, you gotta say no more. He called back, sent me back, got everything recorded under the prophet's authority, dealing with what this movement's supposed to be dealing with on the national side. So let me continue. Say, do ordain, establish this Constitution for the United States of America, right? So when you're dealing with Act 6, the prophet is letting us know in Act 6, where's that? When he said, oh yeah, we're part and parcel of this said government. He's taking us right back here. This is in this is also in this. Taking us back to the true foundation of government, because we are the government. We really are. But see, they got us looking towards the east for everything. You ask the average person, where you come from? Africa. They look across the water. Where you come from? Egypt. They look across the water. Not knowing that this part of the world is Northwest and Southwest Africa. I do an illustration with my hands. Now, when you go into chapter 47, you got to understand the ancient people prior to the flood. So who were these ancient people? They were the Canaanites, Hittites, Moabites, and Amorites before the flood. So look at my hands, y'all. You see a pyramid in between, the illustration. Now this is before the flood. One large continent, Africa. That probably teaches us the first inhabitants of Africa came from where? The land of Canaan, right? Not just the land of Canaan, but the Holy Land. Canaan is Canada. Everything happened here first when we went to the west, to the east and south. So my right hand represents Northeast and Southeast Africa. My left hand represents Northwest and Southwest Africa. And this is before the flood. Now, when the prophet said the demarcation line between the Father and the Son, where's circle 7? Let's see. Because we got to stay with the record. And see, I got an allergy here. When I get excited, I tell you, can't help it.
Tell us more, Gracious. Tell us more.
Okay, now check this out, y'all. It says here, now old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa, right? Now you don't know how old Cush was. They said old man Cush. Those people lived 700 years old. And then, so old man Cush is old. How old is Ham? You understand what I'm saying? We got to look at the verbiage. This is his father Ham, and his family was second. So when they say family, they ain't talking about 5 or 6 people. They talking about thousands of people. Because even when you have a family reunion, don't you have more than just that immediate family? People coming from all over. So you got to look at this on a level of time. Family. Okay, then it says, then came the word Ethiopian. Now we know the true word. It's not Ethiopia, it's Abyssinians. It's for those people. So then it said, which means, then let's say the word Ethiopia means the demarcation line of the dominion of a Mexican, the first true and divine name of Africa, right? Then it says the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. Now here we go, verse 4. The dominion of Cush. Now, even when you go into scripture, first chapter Genesis, that word God means grantor of dominion. So when you go in first chapter Genesis, it says the creator granted, when he said, let us make man in our image, male and female. So he's talking about a duality. But a lot of us think it's just the male. No. Can't do one without the other, but I'm going to put that on the side. Let me deal with this. So anyway, it says the dominion of Cush, northeast. North, this is Cush, northeast, and southeast Africa, Cush. Then it says, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion. But then you see my hand, this pyramid in between, because the pyramid of Giza divides the land, the whole planet Earth, in 4 quarters. The pyramid of Giza, but they changed the quarters and moved into Greenwich. But the pyramid of Giza, got a map to show you all of that. Mm-hmm. What's the map? Oh no, I got the map. I got to show you. Okay. I had the map to show you when they did all of this. Because see, look, when the man control your habits, they control everything. And what do they control? Your education, your health, your employment, everything that we need. This man can control. The man that control your habits control you. And how they control you was through a law that is bogus. We don't know nothing about it, but the laws have already been solidified to knock everything out that they dealing with. We don't have a clue, but they know, we just don't. So okay, dealing with Cush. So now the pyramid of Giza divide Cush in hand, right? So now, remember I said this is before the flood. So now the flood ensued. Pull your hands apart about 3 or 4 inches. So now don't you have a separation between east and west? Right. So the question is, what's the separation? It's a water route. And what's the water route? It's the Atlantic Ocean. So you got East Africa and you got West Africa. Well, okay. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. We've been here all the time. All the time. So now you bring your hands back. So if it was Africa before the flood, it's still Africa after the flood. Okay. But they don't know it. No, Moses, check this out. Do you know the Bible, the Torah, the 5 books? Mm-hmm. That's this particular foundation of who we are. North America is Upper Egypt of the West. South America is Lower Egypt of the West. Ancient Jerusalem is in the hills of Peru. Jericho is Brazil. Heliopolis is down in the Yucatan Peninsula, where all the pharaohs and kings came to be crowned, all on this side. So just to prove that we was sojourning, then check this out. All right. In later years, many of their brothers from Asia, all of the landmass was Asia. That's why our race is Asiatic. And then the prophet says, Adam and Eve is what Asiatic and Muslim, right? That's right. Why Asiatic? Because our race is Asiatic. The reason why we are Muslim because there's only one God. A Muslim is submitting his will to the one God, just like a Hebrew. They're submitting the will to the one God. The word Hebrew means one who has crossed over. Thank you, Mo. Crossed over from what to what? From idol worshiping, going back to the one God. That's what Abraham had to do. Bring them back. Why do you think Noble Drowley said, know thyself and your Father God Allah? He's bringing you back to the one God. It was always about the one God. Was not Abraham about the one God? Was not Moses about the one God? Was not Jesus about the one God? Was not Muhammad about the one God? All of them was about the one God. That's the problem. So, okay, so they're continuing. Then it says, now here we go with us. He said, in later years, many of their brothers from the Asian Holy Lands joined them. So where are these Holy Lands? The Holy Lands was in the West. I don't know if you all had the book by Horace Butler, When Rocks Cry Out, the first edition. You have that?
What's the name of it again?
When rocks cry out.
I had the, no, I didn't bring it. Oh, man. Thought I did. I didn't bring it. But see, the first edition,
Reggie, what's the name of it again, please?
When Rocks Cry Out.
Take your notes, Moors, if y'all
When
want to
Rocks
reference.
Cry
it.
Yeah, When Rocks Cry Out.
Okay.
First edition, and he got about 2 or 3 editions. She Greener, do you have 3? Does Horace Butler has 3 editions now, or just the 2?
Just the 2. You know, the one that you have is the hardback one.
Okay.
The one that I have is the softback one. You know, he showed me, because he only printed so much.
Right.
Of yours, the hardback one.
Okay.
Right. 1,000, right. And the one that I have, he took a lot of information out, because Horace Butler caught a lot of flack with that book.
Yeah, yeah.
So when he came back, the information that was in the one that you got is not in mine.
Yeah,
So
right.
me and you went over.
Yeah. Well, the next time we have a meeting, I'm gonna bring some books, because it's not good for me just because man doesn't know about being told.
Praise the
You
Lord.
got to see the information for yourself. So anyway, dealing with us. Now remember, I said ancient Jerusalem is in the hills of Peru. Jericho is Brazil. So now here we go. It said the Moabites from the land of Moab. So who was the progenitor of the Moabites? It was Moab. Who was Moab? He was Lot's eldest son. So it's not Lot and Abraham kin. All on with Hebrews. So if man descent nature don't change, then who are we? That's why we say that we Hebrew Muslims of Moorish descent. Ruth the Moabitess. Look at the genealogy. Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David. Look at it. So if our ancestors were Hebrews, then what does that make us? You can't change that, because man, the sin nature don't change. So then it says,
Reggie, you got a question?
oh, go ahead, sister. Okay. Islam, go ahead.
Can I ask from here?
Ask wherever you want it, Gracie.
Islam, I hear everything that you're saying, and it's all good,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't hear how you got it. Can you tell us how you got this information? Who instructed you?
Oh, well, Grand Sheikh Richard Dingle, he laid the foundation for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a relevant point that people need to know.
Well, I'm gonna get to all of that. I ain't finished with that.
And the other point, because we sat in class together.
Yeah, absolutely.
We sat in class together, and when we talk about
Excuse me, Gracie, can you come up so the camera can figure? I'm sorry. I see they trying to adjust the camera that way they can all have you, please.
okay, so I heard you say something about everybody was Moorish, of a Moorish descent.
I said the Incas, the Mayans, the Aztec, and Olmecs, all was of Moorish descent.
Okay.
That's in the prophet's literature. But go ahead.
Okay, so if you're saying that, then in chapter 45, the prophet breaks all these nations down.
Mm-hmm.
And are they, according to their nationality in chapter 45, they're broken down according to nationality. And are some of those nations where the Inca and the Mayas are?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a nationality, so we can't change their descent nature.
No, you can't.
And so they wouldn't be Moorish.
Yes,
would
they
be
will. I'm
what
gonna show
their
you.
forefathers were.
I'm gonna show you. But go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
They would be what their forefathers were.
Okay, well, see, the question is when you have questions like that, you always got to take people back to their descent nature, where
Right,
it all
so let's go
started.
to chapter 45.
Okay, now check this out. Let's go to Acts 6.
So to be clear, the question on the floor is, how can
Mm-hmm.
people change their decent nature,
Mhm.
you understand,
Mm-hmm.
and still be Moorish?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Is that your
everybody
question?
clear on that?
Yes.
Okay.
You have another question after that, Currency?
No.
Well, let me ask that one first.
One at a time, Moors. I seen all the hands. I
I just
got
want
you.
clarification.
I
as we
got
go
that.
on,
Right.
and
Okay.
You're more than welcome
Okay.
to the next question you can have.
Okay. Let me deal with that with the sister Sheikah is talking about. Okay. When you
I'm sorry, can we restate the question again for the record, please? What was the?
Go ahead, Mama.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, so my question was, if the Mayas and Incas were in South America, And the South America is broken down into nations according to chapter 45.
Right.
How can they be Moorish?
Okay, you ready?
Wait a minute.
Y'all ready?
Secretary, right.
Let me get this.
The secretary right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
Okay.
That's your question?
that's my question.
All right, beautiful. Let's go.
Excuse me, the hands that's out, are y'all trying to help answer that question?
No. You want to go back to the original question that Westmore had.
Right.
The question was, what is the difference between?
Yeah, I forgot about it.
All right, so this
I forgot about it. Okay.
this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a 5 minute because you know Moore's got to stretch use the bathroom.
Right.
So they want you to go backwards before you get the
Okay,
grand
that's
secret.
fine.
Okay.
So we'll
Good.
deal with naturalization and
Okay.
nationalization first.
Okay,
And
beautiful.
then after the 5 minute recess,
Then
you're on
we
the
come
grand
back to the
secret. Yeah.
secrets. Okay,
Praise the Lord.
very good. I'm glad these questions.
Sheikah. Can you come back and this way, over this end?
Watch me.
No, okay. And keep in mind that the secretary is writing, so you have to speak slowly so she can catch up, please, okay? It's long, thank you kindly. Okay.
Islam. I'm glad these questions are being put on the floor because we're gonna get some clarity today. All from the prophet. Everything from the prophet. Even this whole naturalization process from the prophet. Because this is more science. So go ahead, Bo. You say your question was about the naturalization
And the
and
naturalization.
okay.
But that was a part of the question.
About what she just said? What she just said?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Are nationalization and naturalization the same?
And I said no.
Is a part of my question.
Okay.
But in order to continue, you have to answer that first.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
in order for me to
I got you.
ask my question, that
Got
has
you.
to be
Got you.
answered.
Okay, I don't have a 5th edition Black's Law Dictionary here, but let me just say this. In Tim's book, when him and his brother met with the majors and whatnot, I'll get to this in a minute. When you look in the 5th edition Black's Law Dictionary, when you look up the word naturalization, the root word for naturalization is natural, and we all want to be natural beings. And that's why when you look up the definition, it says the process. Everything is a process. Even when you're making love, it's a process. It says the process of acquiring nationality after birth, which entitles you to the privilege of citizenship. That's why when you deal with the Hebrew law, March 31st, 1864 in the Senate, they debated the whole slavery issue. And they said by compliance with the requirements of naturalization, which is the Hebrew law, we become citizens, entitled to all the immunities and privileges of the native Hebrew. See, the question we need to ask ourselves is, did we ever comply with that? No. That's why Dred Scott had a problem. They said, okay, Negro, you go. He free. So he thought that he could move about from one state to another. But they stopped him and said, oh, no, you're not a citizen, because they never naturalized it. If you read the Dred Scott case, it'll tell you the reason why that they didn't make him a citizen, because he was never naturalized. That's number one. So now, the word nationalization, when you look that up, it says that's government to government. When Germany defeated Poland, they went in and nationalized the whole country, the people, the resource. That's nationalization. Let's go into Tim's book. Did that answer your question?
Say that last part again.
I said, when you look, just take the time and look the word up. When Germany defeated Poland, they went in and nationalized the whole country, the people, the resources, everything. It's government to government. That's what nationalization is. It's in Tim's book.
You gotta hang right.
Huh?
I think acknowledge it, the brothers
Yeah, I was
acknowledge
going
the
to
information that
give
you
you the definition if you would like.
Oh, yes, yes. Give it to him. Yes, indeed. Let me find this information in Tim's book. Me and Tim were very close. 28. Here we go.
still got a question.
So naturalization, right? The act of adopting, this is Black's Law addiction, Black's Law, Black's Islam rising the highest standard of all perfect things of Allah, all this divine prophets, namely our last prophet in these days time. Honorable Noble Dwelly, Islam. So the definition of nationalization out of Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition.
The fifth, Mo. You had the fifth.
I only have 4th
Okay, well, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So
The
it
fifth
says,
is more definitive.
the act of adopting a foreigner and clothing him with the privileges of a native citizen, and it goes on to say, this takes place with
I got it in my book. I have the definition in my
and then naturalized to
briefcase.
citizenship and naturalization, right? I mean, nationalization is the other word, correct? So,
Yeah, nationalization.
So you have in your bag, yes?
Mhm.
During the break, we can get the information.
Okay.
It's 2 different editions.
Right, okay,
And it's
yeah,
slightly
let me,
different.
yeah,
It's a slight difference.
yeah, it is,
Thank you for your
okay.
assistance, though, bro.
Okay, so let me go into Tim's book, and maybe when I read this, maybe you get a better understanding.
Can you
Okay,
clarify, Grand Chief, when you say Tim's book?
okay, the Grand
We
Chief.
know y'all old and all say traitor.
Yeah,
They might
okay,
not, just so you know.
okay.
What
Grand Chief Timothy Dingle here.
there you go.
Now, me and him was very close,
Yeah.
believe that. Because, anyway, that's something else. But anyway, I'm on page 28 in this book. It says, when we were sent to confer with General Hersey, but the general was not in. 3 years later, he did confer with the general, and at that time we were referred to a major. After the major heard our complaints, he told us that our complaints were deeper than he could dream. We asked the major, did he thoroughly understand our problem? And if he did, make us know it. The major said, when the Germans took over when the Germans took over Czechoslovakia, the Germans nationalized the conquered people according to the German laws. Then he says, when America conquered you people, America made slaves out of you people. Then he says, tell Drew Ali to send into this headquarters all the available proof of you people being Moorish Americans. Then he says, we showed the major Form 1099. Now let me say this about Form 1099. When you factor out August the 1st, 2:52 p.m., 1920, it's going to come out to be 1099. Just deal with the numbers, y'all. So then he says, and the 6th act of the law inside. Then the major said, this is it, leave it with me. And we told the major we had no orders to leave the book. Our authority, Form 1099. The major said, tell the Drew Ali to send in to this headquarters, and we will send it over to the Justice Department and make law out of it. Now, this is where a lot of Moors don't know that they did make law out of this in the Justice Department. I got the file number. Grand Chief Richard Dingle gave me a letter that he sent to President Eisenhower with this file number. And those badges and what you see, I have a badge myself. We have our own firearm license on our ID under that file number. I'm not going to get into what it all entails, but I'll let you see. Even when we met with the Black Caucus back in the 80s, John Connors, I have a letter from him. He had to send it to the Justice Department about the file number. I'm just going to say. So I'm just letting you know. Wait a minute. So let me continue here. It says that we'll make law out of it, and you can talk it all you want. So I just want to say that. So did you get a better understanding of what this is?
I got a better understanding, yeah.
Okay. See, I mean, people, we got to read and interpret what we read and comprehend. See, that's the problem. A lot of us don't like to read. We want everybody to give you this and give you that. But you got to do some research on your own, because man and woman doesn't know by being told. Person can tell you anything. That's why the Dingle, Richard Dingle, the Grand Chief, he says, son, you don't have to believe me. Research and check it out for yourself. I've done that. You got the fifth edition?
Fifth edition definition.
Okay, let me do that. Do this now. Okay.
So nationality, the quality of character which arises from the fact of a person's belonging to a nation or state. Nationality determines the political status of the individually, especially with reference to allegiance, while domicile determines his civil status. Nationality arises either by birth or naturalization. The definition for naturalization: the process by which a person acquires nationality after birth and becomes entitled to the privileges of citizenship. And it says in the United States, collective naturalization, skip that part, right? Yes.
Well, the main part that you already said it after birth. That's the thing that people need to wake up and understand what it means. Because the root word for naturalization is natural, and we want to be all natural beings. So, okay, you want to.
We're going to take a recess. So more is what I'm going to say in the most humblest, respectful way to all the leaders that's going to take place, because we're doing all 12 months. Let me know when y'all going to be comfortable with what you got. Because the worst thing I want us to do is stay where we've been at for the 50, 60 years and constantly, and it's not about this branch, it's about everybody that I be around. We got to get to the point where y'all trusting to give up the information more. You know, what I'm trying to get accomplished with these meetings is for these babies. I got about 9 babies back there that's being obedient. I don't want their master that they sit under 20 years after I'm gone to tell them, I'm going to let you know 40, 50 years about something I have. Moors, please, find some of us clean enough, even if it's not your membership, my membership. I firmly believe that you Moors got something, but I swear it bothers me when I constantly got to hear. I'm going to sit on that. I'm going to hold that. Even the part about the brother stopping the brother from reading something. Moors, these meetings is to get some work done, Moors. These meetings is to get some work done. Ain't y'all tired of members and masters dangling papers over your head for 40, 50 years? Find somebody that y'all find clean enough. I'm pleading. You know, and I don't mean no disrespect to the brother that stopped him, but that's what we're here for, to learn. How are we going to learn if we're not going to allow the brother even to read the whole definition? So the Moors that have questions can get some understanding. And I pray that y'all don't think I'm trying to offend anybody, but I want some work done. You know, I want some work done.
We need it.
You know, we have an open dialogue with the grand bodies, not connected with me, not connected with none of y'all, and it ain't been one argument. But I'm praying to you, Moors. If a Moor asks a question, they ask them because they want to answer. We can't be afraid that we're going too high for somebody. You know, we holding something. So I'm asking Moors, 12 months we're going to be doing this to get some work done. Pray, meditate that you find somebody clean enough and pure enough to get this stuff. Because if they ask a question, they ask them because they don't know. We ain't helping these young sheiks if we raise their hand, they get a question, and we give them 1/3 of it, and they still leaving here confused. Still lost. So Moors, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and...
Can I say this real quick?
Absolutely. After this...
Our nationality card, you know, you have your picture ID on the back, information, and we got Timothy and Richard Dingle on the back of the card. I got to go into some stuff with y'all when you come back.
We'll be here 12 months. So more, stretch your legs, do what you got to do. We're going to take a quick 5-minute recess. Islam?
Islam was only one wrestler, so let them sisters go first if y'all don't mind.
Ask them, did you want some fruit? keep the minutes going, and I want before you give your demonstration or before you give your question, and can you please slow down just a little bit? I know we up and we in the vibration. We want to keep the same vibration going, but I'm trying to keep the minutes as precise as possible. Islam family.
Right. Islam, the meeting is back convened. Your floor, Grand Sheikh Ratcliffe, Islam.
Okay, where did I leave off at?
You was talking about national.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
From the 5th edition.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the brother read the definition, so now when I asked the founder to reference that in any of his verbiage.
Islam.
State your name.
Michael McKenzie Ill. And this is just may not be for this meeting, but going forward, can we get a recorder in here so to give the sister some assistance with the minutes? Is that possible?
Tape recorder.
Islam.
Everything is possible, Mo. Anything to help the meeting, absolutely. Praise the Lord. Thanks for that suggestion, Mo.
Okay, Moses, here we go. All right, now I'll stress the fact that the prophet he emphasized your free national constitution.
Islam.
Yes, sir.
If I may. Always rise, give praise to Allah, give on to the prophet. Sheikh Johnson Bay.
Go ahead, Mo.
All right. So, all right, because I don't know how much time we're working with, I wanted to state the full question.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead, Mo.
So, because nationalization and naturalization are two different things.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to salvation, are they? How do they work together for salvation of the Asiatics? Can you do either or for salvation? Is it only one for salvation, or is it both for salvation, or is it that because this is how my mind is perceiving how it relates to humanity.
Okay.
Or is it that naturalization and nationalization are just things that help to manifest the works of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Could it possibly be something else? If it's nothing else, do they work together for the salvation of our people? And well, I'm talking about the MoorishAmerican.
I got you.
All right, so that's pretty much my question.
Okay, beautiful.
With knowing that they are different, how do they work together, or do they work together?
Let me explain.
And if they do, if the answer is no, then the question stops.
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, how do they work together for the salvation of the Asiatics of America who are more the unconscious Moorish?
Right. Okay. Okay. Now remember, I asked the question. Now, when you get your nationality card, the prophet said, "I am a citizen." He said, "I am a citizen of what?" The U period. No, not the USA. That's where people go off track. You got to take time and look at the letters. It says the U period, S period, A period. What that means is the republic. You're going back to the common law, free national organic constitution. That's going back to the set government. So we are citizens up under his divine authority. But brother asked a question about the naturalization piece. I'm gonna get to this, but I'm gonna ask a question. So the question is this: are you a citizen of the government? Anybody? Just tell me, well, you're a citizen of this government. Anybody? Anybody? Are you a citizen of? You said yes.
I am.
Okay. What law makes you the citizen?
According to this Constitution,
Mm-hmm.
the 14th Amendment.
Okay. And the prophet said 14th is not applicable to us,
I
right?
understand.
So you got to throw that out the way. Get rid of it. Because that's de facto. See, we got to understand this, Mo. The prophet gave us all the bullet points. He gave us everything. In Acts 6, let me just go there. I'm going to get to you. See, when he said slavery lasted until 1865, we got to know what happened. The average person or more don't know what happened. That's why I dealt with the word truth. Truth does three things: it set you free, make you free, and keep you free when you know it. Now, the 1320, the proclamations is key. The 1320 is the enforcement amendment. It enforces the Emancipation Proclamation. When you look at the 13th Amendment with two sections, it's nothing in there that says that you are free or that slavery has been abolished. Don't exist. See, the reason why you don't see the 1320, because the conspirators, the radical element at that time, they was in control of everything. When you deal with the passage of the 1320, they debated the slavery issue March 31st, 1864. They talk about your citizenship. They talk about the colonization and the compensation, all up in it. So then you got to look at the timeline. 9 days later, April the 8th, 1864, they passed the 1320 in the Senate, stemming from the debate of March 31st, 1864. So now when it went to the House the first time, they rejected it. But Lincoln got him to bring it back. And on January 31st, 1865, they passed the 1320. The vote was 119 to 56, 8 not voting. Lincoln signed it on the 1st of February. He's gone. Johnson picked it up because he was going through some changes too. But November the 18th, 1865, 3/4 of the states ratified the 1320 and then became true constitutional law. We was free nationwide. The proclamation just freed us in the southern states, but that's why they had to have an amendment to enforce it. So what the people don't know, that 1320, that's why the prophet left the 1320, the 13th Amendment out of this warning. He just said the 14th and 15th. But as us being more scientists, we got to look at this 13th Amendment. I have the passage of it, all these documents. I got so much stuff. All these, you see all these ribbons, all this stuff here. This is from the archives. Passage of the 1320, the proclamations, got the Hebrew code here. And see, all this is very important. And check this out. We even met with the Attorney General's office here. And we was bringing up the 1320. And they said, oh, we're going to prove y'all the 1320 just has 2 sections, not 20. I said, okay, prove it. And here's the letter from them. And check this out. Now, this was in 1979. Like I said, I joined the temple in 1975, April the 18th to be exact. And all the while I've been in this movement, I've been on this national side dealing with the government. And I got so much paper trail to validate that they have confirmed, but it's hidden because you can't get the moles to come around the table to discuss it. So my thing is, if the prophet, the prophet brought us out nationality and birthrights, that means you have a right at birth. So the question is, if he brought us the nationality and birthright, would tell me what law do we affect, what law do we use to facilitate our birthright? Once he already eliminated the 14th and 15th, so where are we going? You got to have a law, because see, law governs all events, the seen as well as the unseen. This is the unseen. And they kept it under wraps. And when Grand Sheik Richardson Dingo brought this out to us, we didn't know nothing about it. And see, the thing that makes it so sad about this city of Baltimore, we was taught by the 3 great masters, R. Jeremy Bay, Richard, and Timothy Dingle, Grand Sheiks, this policy. Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle was the only one stayed with it. Rest of them didn't. But see, I got his records from the military, because 10 file number 1-17. And see, we don't know that those 2 brothers, they established what is called the Moorish National Bureau of Vice Statistics.
That's right.
A registry. History in the present is deep in the past.
Right.
History in the past is deep in the present. So if you go to the 7th chapter of Nehemiah, they had to do a registry with the government. Nebuchadnezzar was ruling Babylon at the time. Ezra couldn't do it. Nehemiah did it. So what he had to do, he had to gather the nobles and the rulers and the people. So the nobles and the rulers was your title, ill and bay, your rulership and nobility. That's what them titles, ill and bay mean. The prophet said he gave us our titles to our vast estate. He didn't give us all these titles, these modes, bringing them together. It's either ill or bay. But they got da. He said, don't use Allah, but they using it anyway because they're not coming under his teachings. But nevertheless, so the registry that Nehemiah had to do with the government in order for them to do what? Recognize the house of Israel. They had to have a registry. So when the Dingle brothers did what they did, they set up the registry through the Moorish Bureau of Vice Statistics. That's why last time we met, I read from the resurrection where it was mandated at the convention out of Chicago that all the Moors be registered and be taught the 1320. This was in 1970. What happened? Can you imagine if the temples do right and register all their members in the Bureau, we have our seats because now we got our numbers to represent our interests. We don't have nobody in the Congress representing us. When we met with the caucus back in the 80s, they checked all this out and said we was right, but they said they was afraid of losing their job. So John Connors, he came with the with the fluff. He came out and said, he started telling people about reparations. Nothing in the Constitution talking about no reparations. Black folks never gonna get that. When the prophet said black according to science means death. Question, what kind of science is he talking about? Political science. Anything that we do in this man's arena under these forms, we mark black, we dead in the water. Right. You say you're more? Okay. If you have made no corrections to your status, they still got you listed as black. Now, I have my driver's record here. White. Then the prophet say white according to science. I mean, white means purity, purity means God, God means ruler of the land. You don't want to be white? Now, when we met with the NACP in 2015 about all of this, if we didn't know this policy, they would have spent us, but we spent them. Got a letter from the head person, advocacy, he policy and advocacy, Mr. Hillary Shelton. Me and him had a good rapport. He told me what to tell our folks to do. But then when I did a YouTube thing, then you had some of these more say, no, we ain't white, we black. All this confusion. And the man, we met, and he told us what to put down. But you can't get the Moors to come together to realize that. You understand? But anyway, getting back to this. When we met...
What is say?
Please rise. Give your name.
Islam, Sheikh Bruce Dixon Bay, National Chairman. Said government. I want to just make sure everybody's on the same page.
Okay, said means before, taking you back. Well, the prophet said we are part and parcel of the said government. He's taking us back to the foundation of it. Because we are the government. Those first 7 articles, which I stated, I'll read about the Union because the Union is older than the Constitution. Out of the Union came the Constitution. And it commenced with the Articles of Association of 1774. That's why the prophet said that if we were free ever since the free national constitution of 1774, the Moors don't know what that is. That's Articles of Association. See, the government was being formed, just like this movement. It didn't come off with the prophet registered in 1928. This was done in stages, this movement. Had the Canaanite temple, the Moorish Holy Temple signs. You had the Moorish temple signs, then the Moorish signs of America, in stages. And in 1925 to 1929, the prophet laid the blueprint, but he couldn't finalize everything because he was gone in 5 years later. So what could he do? You see, but he laid the blueprint for us. And the blueprint was the law itself. But first of all, you got to get your record straight. Because believe me, if you riding in the street, you have a car, and we advise our people to put everything up under the temple. Because see, once you got protection. And businesses, we got businesses all around the country. Our membership is scattered. Hawaii, Jamaica, everywhere. And we have this nationalization ceremony once a year, Farrakhan, he sent his people in 2018. Minister Hafiz sent him out of New York. His staff came. Mr. Carlos and his people, they came. We had a good turnout. But I'm just saying, even when Farrakhan was out of the country, who you think got him back? When Reagan was president, he came to us. Got the letter to prove all what I'm saying. And we gave his lawyer, Sister Muhammad, Ava Muhammad, this case I'm telling you all about, dealing with the case here. It's the only federal case that's been adjudicated in our favor pertaining to what I'm standing here talking to you all about. This is the case right here. Now check this out. Now this is going with the prophet now. See, the prophet let us know that 14th and 15th Amendment don't apply to us. But the 1320 does. Because in there, it talks about your compensation, your voting rights. It talks about your freedom, all of that. And what the most don't know, what is so significant about the 1320, it enforces the Emancipation Proclamation, and it also enforces your free national constitution. So now when you want to deal with the nationalization piece that Noble Jolly in science made us aware of, so when you go into the Constitution of the United States, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. Let's read it. Now, this is in the Free National Constitution. Noble Jolly talks about. We don't know nothing about it. Check this out. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. It says to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. That's where it is, right there. Your free national constitution is these first 7 articles. That's what it is. And see, they got 2 constitutions going. They put the organic, that's why Trump said the constitutions are the fake and the fraud. He's talking about what the ones we utilize in the day, which is the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. That's where the fraud is, you see. But we got the Supreme Court case, 1883. And remember, the prophet was born 1886, 3 years after the Supreme Court declared the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments unconstitutional. They voted it out. So when I talk to these officials, I ask them a simple question. Are y'all citizens of the government? Yeah. I said, well, tell me the law. And when they say the 14th Amendment, I said, look, y'all ain't but a bunch of fakes. I'm the only true citizen in this room. And then I give them the case numbers and check it out for yourself. And I even had one recently, 1967. They brought the 14th Amendment back to the Congress. And they declared then it was unconstitutional. But nobody's saying nothing about it. You know why? Because that's where the money is. Mm-hmm. Civil rights. Mm-hmm. But if you got your human rights, you don't need no civil rights. Everything falls into place. That's why the prophet gave us what? Our nationality and birthright. You have a right at birth. But not under these laws that they live in, that they got us under. So when you come with this spill, and then check it, going back to the Attorney General's office. Now, they said they're going to prove us wrong, right? They said, Section 2, this is the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution has only 2 sections, not 20, as your group has argued. I am researching the congressional records of the 1860s to determine why and how the proposed 13th Amendment with 20 sections failed adoption. And now we said we're going to help the research. We gave them some information to help their research. Now their research capabilities are far greater than ours. But we want to let them know that we know the deal. And so this is their final letter back to us. Now check it. Now remember, I said they're going to prove us wrong, right? So they said also after researching the question at some length, we have been unable to determine exactly why, how, or when the proposed 13th Amendment with 20 sections was rejected by the Congress during the Civil War years. But they said they're going to prove us wrong. They surely didn't do it. Because if they had, they would have said the vote count was this, da. So go ahead, Mo.
Madam President, Mo, where do we go now? Where does the Moorish Temple of America go at this point? What do we do? Where do we go? How do we go? What it is that we do?
We got to be one voice.
How?
Islam, agreed. Islam, disagree.
Huh?
Just agree, Mo.
Oh.
Let him Mo.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Huh?
I see. Islam.
Huh?
I recognize you, Mo. Islam.
Islam, man.
Oh, state your name.
Sheikh Aaron gets the assistant grand sheikh. Well, can you explain who started teaching us the 13th to 20 and when?
Okay, well, like I said, when I came into the movement, 1975, it was Grand Sheik Richard Dingle, who we looked at as Noble Valley III. It was him. He kept that flame going. Everybody else dropped it. It's almost.
She clarifed pretty Well, back to my question.
Okay.
What do we do? How do we do? What should we do at this point?
We got to have the same voice. Like I said, I've been in meetings with all kind of officials. I was close to the chief judge here, Judge Saratola. He had a meeting with 7 judges up down at the People's Courthouse on the second floor for them to meet me to talk about this policy. Me and Schaefer was like this. Donald Schaefer, like what a lot of Moors don't know, he was an honorary member of the Moorish Temple. People don't know that. Well, he and I were very close. And he put me with Barbara McCoskey because when I called him, because I was in Annapolis, he told me to come over to the office. So when I get there, he said, "Hey, Brad Bay, I'm trying to figure out this plan." I call him Brother Schaefer. I said, "Look, Brother Schaefer, you already got the plan. I gave you the proclamation." He said, "Yeah, I know that, but this is on a lesser scale." So what they was doing, they was revamping the whole Maryland penal system. But we have, through the government, they sent us expert proposal writers to help us do an office. They gave us the people to establish an office of Moorish affairs in each state, a proposal. And we also have what is called the Moorish Reentry Rehabilitation Plan. So when I showed Schaefer that, he loved it. He took extra, put it in the paper, got all of this stuff. But anyway, we'll go ahead, Mark.
I'm asking. We got a body of Grand Sheiks here,
Mm-hmm.
body of officials, chairman, national chairman.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? And you say get the people.
We got us, all of us, the leaders, got to come together, and we got to get on the same page. Everything is done.
Now, how do we do that, Grand Sheik? What I'm asking. In all due respect, how do we do? What's your idea? What's your plan? How it is that we can do just that, get on the same page.
Show you the process, and you got to start doing it. Got to start doing it.
Show me the process.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We got to come together so I could see all this paperwork that I have. I ain't put all of it out. All this is stuff from the government, passage of the 1320, all this stuff. Once you read the Office of Moorish Affairs in East, and we all know that the Moors need an Office of Moorish Affairs in each state. Do you know we're supposed to have a Moorish community up here around Wabash and Northern Parkway?
How can we get that? How can we get that up at Wabash?
Okay. I got to show you these letters. We got to come back, just the leaders.
So listen, Moors, we got a few minutes left, and I'm hearing all the questions we know is impossible to do it in 3 hours. We only got he got 5 minutes left, and we got another maybe 20 minutes after that. So this is my suggestion. The heads can get together. As I always speak to y'all, I don't have to be at every meeting. I want to see the work done. Grand Sheik and Seabreeze Bay, they sat in the same house. We got Turner L. Edwardsville. We got the Grand Sheik Prathdale and his staff. They asked some great questions.
Can you make reference to professional, please? Give them the titles.
Yes, sir.
Please.
You want your title?
Yeah,
I got to give it. See, I knew he was going to do that. So the Grand Sheik is Seabreeze Bay. The Grand Sheik Turner L. My Grand Sheik Prathdale. More is impossible to do this at every meeting.
No, it's not.
So he has some big questions on the floor. The Grand Sheik said, "How can we get it done?" The Grand Sheik has asked how we can get it done. He said that we all got to get on one accord and be one voice, and he has the paperwork to show y'all. So, y'all figure out how y'all want to get together, the when, the where, the how. What I want to do before you close, the Grand Sheik is
Oh, her question. Her
Had a question.
Yeah, okay. Let me get back.
We never got to her question, and I want to get her question answered before he yields the floor.
Right.
The Grand Sheik in Seabreeze Bay had a question. So, Mobile, we already recorded your question, but you can come up and ask it, and that'll be the last question before we call the Grand Sheik Prathel up. And I have a question to also ask the Grand Sheik Prathel. Islam?
Okay.
Islam,
my sister.
My question was, and my question is how are all the people in North and South America going to be classified as Moorish when they already have a nationality?
What nationality do they have?
Let's see. The Asiatic nations and the countries in North, South, Central America. The Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America. Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America. Colombians, Nicaraguans, and natives of San Salvador and Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims.
Okay, all right.
They're not all Moors, they are Muslims.
Okay, well, let's deal with the prophet's teachings. Let's go to Acts 6, and we're going to deal with all what you just said.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay, when the prophet says, the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited. So the Moors inhabited this part of the world first. He said inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So that's North America and South America. We were the first inhabitants in this hemisphere. So now, okay, go ahead. So, but I ain't finished yet.
Oh, go ahead, finish.
Now you were saying about the Nicaraguans and all of that, right? So my question is that what is the origin of the Nicaraguans in this? Who are these people?
I don't know, but the prophets say they're nations.
Sure, they're nations.
They're nations, and that's their nationality, and that's how we have to recognize. We can't give them Moorish, because if you look in the beginning of Acts 6, it says, with us all members must proclaim their nationality, not ours, their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and divine creed, because we don't have a clue.
Okay, you want me to answer that one? All of us. See, we got to understand. We have to understand that all the inhabitants in this Western, look, if all the inhabitants in this Western hemisphere is of Moorish descent, because let's check this out. It's just like we have Zoom meetings every Saturday. People come from all over, and this one particular sister. When I asked her, I said, sister, what is your tribal affiliation? She said, I'm a Mohawk. I said, okay. I said, give me the origin of your tribe. She stopped. She said, I don't know. So what I'm saying to you, sister, these Nicaraguans, what is the origin of these people?
All I can only, I'm like I said,
But wait a minute, but I ain't finished. I ain't finished. So if the prophet said we inhabited the northwest and southwestern shores, that means we inhabit North America as well as South America. All the people in this Western hemisphere is of Moorish descent.
No.
If you
it's not.
But anyway,
it's not. Okay. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to hear again in this process. We're going to hear the answer to our question, and if you get a chance to dispute it, that's when you dispute it. We're not going to make this argumentative. This is how we learn. This is how we do things. This is how things ought to be done. When you get behind here, you can put your measure on that issue that's on the table. But we're not going to stand up here and argue, because when I stand back there and we have to argue, don't tell me that you got to go home. You can't tell me we got another half an hour. You can't tell me you got 5 more minutes.
That's right.
So when you get up, anything that you disagree with, any of us, wait till you get behind there and make a difference and get your point, give your measure. Because right now, a Grand Sheik is up and giving his measure, and he wants to be heard. And we cannot hear formulating thoughts in our own mind about an issue. Everything this man has said, I've heard, I've noted it, and I'm gonna comment and ask my questions, etc.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, when you get up there, wait till you get up there and demonstrate your degree.
Islam Mo, can I just say that in reference to the Shikas, the Grand Shikas? See,
Ain't about the Shikas in the great.
No. This is about a question. I'm dealing with the question. See, when I asked the origin, and she said she didn't know. So the same thing would go if you got a person who lives, because we got members from Nicaragua and other places. And see, we got to understand that all of the people in the Western Hemisphere has fallen. We got Spanish names, English names, French names, Portuguese. That's not us. So when you ask a person their origin, that's when the flags go up, because they don't know. But if out of one there's many, and out of many there's one, we the one where all the many came from. And when you look at the prophet, when he said the inhabitation of the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, anytime you go into a country, you go into the shores first, and then you move inward. So the thing is, if we were the ancient Moabites, then all the people in this Western Hemisphere is of our descent nature. Whatever name that they have now, because I will go into just think about the Indians. No such thing as an American Indian. The first time, I got the record on that. And also the question was just like I asked the sister. I said, well, you claim to be an American Indian, native. So what is your origin? Because that's what, so you got to get to the substance of everything. And once you get the substance, then you're going to see that all of us are the same people, just different tribes. That's it. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Mark.
Maybe I got a question. We got three people had their hands on. I just have a statement, and then the sheik joined the L.
This whole landmass from Canada all the way down to Nicaragua is considered to be the Moorish Empire. And these are where the 10 tribes of Israel come from.
Islam Moors. So Moors, what we want to do is Grand Sheik and Seabreeze Base, because you're gonna have your time behind the altar with our grandbody. She's going to be presenting what her agreement on or disagreement is. So just to make sure we're on the same page, Grand Sheik, right today.
Yes.
We're going to have people, when your time come, if you don't believe in a naturalization or you believe in nationalization, you can present why you believe in those. That's the first thing going to be on the table, only for those that disagree. So when we come up here, we're getting some understanding. The second one is the Grand Sheik is not in agreement with those people from that land, man, correct, Moabite, being MoorishAmerican, correct? So we're going to address that when she get her turn. Third, we need one more. Anybody else got a third so we can demonstrate on more?
I got one more.
Okay.
And that's the proclamation.
The proclamations.
Beautiful.
Okay. So there it is, Moors. The proclamations, the naturalization and nationalizations. And what was the first one I said, Moors?
The Nicaraguans.
Okay, exactly.
Chileans,
Mm-hmm. So Moors, we're gonna keep marching up Kings Highway, having these meetings, getting stuff done. Are you okay, Mo? Is it you spelling some more?
I got back. But I have,
Again, Mo. This is not like a Sunday or Friday where we do a job in 2 hours. That's right. It's not. If you have a schedule, Mo, that's fine. But I have a schedule too. And that schedule is, give me order, Mo. And that schedule is, Mo, to spend as much time together as we possibly can to do all the good that we can do. I have nothing else to do besides know what you already know. So I'm ready to lock the doors, man. And if everybody leaves that wants to go, and let's get some work done in here, man. Let's get some work done, man. I respect you, man. I got a high regard for the man, and we need to get some work done. And I'm here I'll sleep on this floor. Go get my coat. Got some something for the body. Well, that's how much it means to me. That's how much it means to me. Wow. So, man, you got some more? You got some more, man?
Well, how much more time am I have?
Better still, let me ask you, how much more time do you all have?
Well, hold on. I got my town hall meeting. Yeah,
he got a town hall every Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time is that? When is
7:30.
Is it on Zoom or something?
No, this is a conference that's nationwide.
It's a conference call. It is online at
Can you make a copy of something for me?
www.uberconference.com/MANR13.
You need to make a copy.
Uber, UBER conference.
You got them over? You got that?
/MANR13, or you could call in at 443-961-4434, and please send your questions to townhall@MoorishAmericanNationalRepublic.com, and we address the email questions on the floor every Sunday. Our town hall meeting is consistent. I'll put an ad up on the screen online.
So you're saying that this is what you do every Sunday?
Yeah, every Sunday.
And then what time is it?
It's 7:30.
7:30?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sunday school is in this. And then I have another meeting at 3 sometime. So I'm busy.
But when I go out of town, Grand Sheik,
what'd you say, Mo?
when I go out of town, Mo, I leave my sheiks in the temple to do the work that I would do housewife. Because if I'm needed out of town, I'm going out of town. And I had the temple still run. So is it at all possible, Grand Sheik?
Mm-hmm.
If it is, I appreciate it if you do it, because we need you here, man.
Mm-hmm.
You are a leader of people. You got people in Hawaii all over. What, you got a national Grand Sheik there, you got a national assistant Grand Sheik right here. Man, we need you here.
Hey, Mo, I can do that.
All right.
But
That's what we got to do, Mo.
Yeah, ain't no problem about that, Mo. I just let them know that I won't be on the call because I'm in another meeting.
And they're going to miss you. I know they're going to miss you.
But see, I sum up the calls. That's what.
Yes, sir. But we need you here, man. We need to get this done too.
That's right.
It's
That's what I'm
not.
saying.
It's not. She just ain't gonna do that.
So the next time, you know.
Okay.
Next time, boy.
Giving honor to the Grand Sheik Bratton Bay Islam Moors. Moors, I want to ask a few questions. And one is especially to my leader, the Grand Sheik Preet the Ill. And I want to ask the question to all the grand bodies here. And that question is that I have Grand Sheik Preet the Ill. I'm gonna wait till the Moor get himself together, Moor Islam.
Well, how much more time you have, Grand Sheik? How much more time you gonna be?
Well,
what time you plan on leaving?
As soon as we finish, because I gotta get home prepared for some stuff. But you know, I mean, if y'all have a couple more questions for me, I can deal with that. I'm just looking because it's almost.
Yeah, the question is that what do we have in place as the grand bodies? What do we have in place so that y'all membership can function unmolested after the leaders transform?
You asking me?
I'm asking you, especially my Grand Sheik, you can expound on, because the problem when I look at the movement, every time one of the great leaders make a transition from this flesh, there's always a whole bunch of controversy. One person saying Bratton Bay didn't say this, the next person saying the Grand Sheik Preet the Ill didn't say this, one said Edwazil didn't say this, no more, this was the way it went. So my question, why I have y'all here, what do we have in place to make sure that our grand body, Grand Sheik, can function unmolested once you transition this flesh?
Praise the Lord.
And the reason why I answer that, because y'all know we follow under the Grand Sheik Timothy Golden Dingle. And Allah, forgive me, but it was a lot of controversy after the Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle transition. And it crushed my soul to ever know, I was too young then, to ever know that the doors of the Moor Science Temple of America had closed because a great leader simply just transitioned from this flesh. We know that the flesh is not the end of it all. We know it's more work to do, but a lot of y'all know the story of how after that great master that did so much work, transition and the doors end up closing. So I just want to know, Grand Sheik, I'm going to give you the floor.
Well, praise Allah. First of all, Mo, on the YouTube, on the Facebook, or wherever y'all broadcasting, does anybody have any questions?
there was a one question, but not one that could be answered right away. So the question was, 1 second.
Can you come to the middle? Come on, bro, take a seat.
How can we make the policy of freedom being discussed by Grand Sheik Bratton Bay standard within the Moorish movement?
Ask it again, please, Mo.
How can we make the policy of freedom that was spoken about by Grand Sheik Bratton Bay standard within the Moorish movement?
Grand Sheik. Grand Sheik. Somebody wants to know, how can we make the policy that you spoke about standard in the Moorish Science Temple of America? How can we make it the law, I would think, in the Moorish Science Temple of America? I think.
Okay, I'll answer that. Well, the prophet said we got to enforce the law to save the nation, right? So what law are we talking about to save the nation? See, we all got to come together under this banner. I'm telling you, I've been in meetings with high officials, and we discussed this. I'm not just pouncing on my chest.
Yes, sir.
I'm just letting you know what I've experienced. And they told me, we know y'all, right? But we just waiting for y'all to get together. Man, do you know, we had such a good rapport with the tax administrator here in Maryland. They was gonna give us all our money back, set an office for us downtown. They asked me, and then see, the agreement was this. They said, well, they told me this man was Mr. Joseph O. Silk. Man, he was very close. And he said to me, he said, Bradley, look, you've been coming down here and having these meetings, so we're gonna set up an office for you all. Y'all handle your own business. He said, but we don't know who is who. He said, the state and the feds talk. So I told him, I mean, we was on first name, but I said, okay, Joe, we'll do it like this. He took the 1320, put it on the tag, the 502 Maryland tax form. He said, you take this back to your membership and have them come in like this. He said, we're gonna give you all your money back. Well, if you wanted to come in one parcel, each individual to the temple, right? So then I told him, I said, okay, Joe, we do it like this. I said, well, any ill or bay coming to the system, if they ain't coming the way we setting this up, then you know they're not coming from us. So you all, the great white father, when he speaks, we listen. So I said, you all send them back to us. We'll straighten everybody out, and then everybody coming in the same way. But the leadership at the time shut that down.
So the policy, that you're spoken of can become the foundation of the Moorish Science Temple of America once we come together.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, so I have documentation that the State Department has signed off on everything. I mean, look, it's like a lot of people, they riding around here with these phony tags and whatnot. But when we went with the State Department, they signed off on our certificate of motor carriage. That means we can do our own tags and stuff. Okay. So we met with the Attorney General, gave them what our tags gonna look like, the whole process. You understand? It's just a lot, man. Okay. You know. But I have to show you all these things. I'm not just talking. I want to see them, Grant. I want to see you. Yeah, I'm gonna show you some stuff. Okay. Hey, this ain't no joke.
Okay.
So when do we get to that point?
Get to what point?
Where you're showing us systemically how to get through the process to be on one accord?
Well, that's up to us. Whenever we want to sit down and meet, I'll lay the paperwork out for you. And it's up to you whether to comprehend what it is. But we already set.
Grace, in all due respect in answering this question, and Moses, I don't mean no disrespect at any level, but so are you saying that this is the only way? I'm asking.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is what we have done that the government has confirmed. Now there's always room for improvement.
Okay.
Just like I don't know everything, nobody knows everything.
That's right.
But see, my point is that the information that I have, especially look, if we have the only federal Moorish case in the country that they sealed, that you can't get it, explaining that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are unconstitutional, and this is for Moorish Americans across the country, so how come we don't use it?
Yes,
They never repealed it, and I've used it. But the Moors don't know nothing about it. I can show you letters from the courts. Like my son had a problem, and I sent the letter to the chief judge, along with that case, our charter. And the letter said that he was sending it to the whole Sixth Circuit, that, my request, right? And my son was supposed to have me an expert witness. They wouldn't let me speak.
Okay.
And when the Miami 7 down in Miami. Oh, that was back in 28 or somewhere, 2008. The government requested me to come down to be an expert witness. They had me down there for 2 years, 3 times. The first time, 14 days. The second time, 10 days. The last time, 7 days. To deal with the Moors.
Okay.
They did that. I didn't do it. They paid me, but nevertheless, it was a good venture. And I'm down there teaching all the FBI agents that I knew and the Treasury people and the lawyers. But I'm just saying, and I gave them that case. And I said, well, why are y'all scratching your head about what to use to get these brothers out of jail? Well, they weren't in jail yet. Then with the case. So they said, yeah, we got the case, but these defendants are none of your members. They're not a part of your organization. And they thought they had me that way.
Okay.
But they didn't.
Okay.
Because I was going to use the charter to get them. But they wouldn't let me speak after that. But anyway, that's another story. But I'm just saying.
She did have a question, Grand Chief. She joined the Senator joined the
the prophet. Teaching was lawnmowers. Chief Brendan joined the L.
Mhm.
I had a question for you, Grand Chief.
Sure.
So, I heard that you mentioned the band. You said that.
She joined it.
Oh, Sloan. Oh. You mentioned a banner. You said the banner. You said that the Moorish Americans would have to come under the banner. That's what you just said.
I ain't saying about a banner.
You made reference. You said.
What did I say?
You said you made reference to the word banner. You said because the question.
I say band together.
No,
Is that what you said? Okay, banner.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean banner.
Oh, what I said when I.
So you saying the Moorish Science Temple?
You may come together.
Yeah, I just said come together.
Okay,
That's what I
come
meant.
together. Okay,
Yeah.
so with that being said, what is the actual process? Like, what is the registration center and what is the process?
Well, okay, first of
That's
all,
my question.
Okay, first of all, are you straight in the government dealing with your driver's license, social security, all of that?
I am. I actually am.
Okay.
So
in what way? I mean, do you have your status and everything's corrected in there?
Praise Allah. So on my driver's license is I'm actually identified as white on my driver's license.
On your driver's license,
On
they
my
don't have. You mean on your driving record? They don't have it on your license.
They do under the codification of the sound act, the code.
It's just 2. You're code 2.
Yes.
Okay.
It's white.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I actually utilized the document that we use, which is the baptism and convocation certificate.
Okay.
Given by Grand Sheikh Timothy Dingwell.
Okay.
So my question to you is this: you said naturalization and nationalization are 2 different things.
Absolutely.
But in the Resurrection book on page 5, Grand Sheikh Timothy Dingwell makes reference to nationalization, and he references it, but he also references it as a process. He states.
What does he state?
Well, I'll
show it to me. Because see,
because my question.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is this. So, on page 5, he says.
Okay, thank you.
Page 5, second paragraph. Moorish questionnaire. Question 62. And question 62 is dealing with what is the shade of their skin? Olive, right? So he says. He says, it is our effort for all people. It is our effort for all the people who are clinging to the names of deluded slaveryism, such as Negro, Black, Colored, and Ethiopian, to be nationalized according to the American Constitution, that one that was forced in 1865 by President Abraham Lincoln. It is also our effort for the people, when nationalized, to obtain what Mr. Lincoln will put in his will, founded in his proclamation September 22nd, 1862. We realize the nationalization cannot be processed until the slaveholder is compensated for his property, and this is in parentheses, called slaves before 1865. A copy of that letter was sent to all senators who were claiming names of deluded to slavery, dated January 29th, 1971. So my question to you, again, the question is, and it goes back to what the Sheik asked you earlier. Question. We're taught that it is one and the same, and we're taught that out of respect. We learned that from the Grand Sheik Prathiel.
Okay.
He taught us not to cut our blessing or cut ourselves short, and to listen with an objective ear and objective view. Okay. So what I'm learning from you, when I hear that you say that it's not the same, and knowing how close you were to the Grand Sheikh Timothy Dingwell, my question is, why does he reference? Do you know? Because you were close to him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why he makes reference to nationalization and not naturalization in that part, but also the part that you read earlier?
Okay, you really want me to explain that?
Please do.
Because they both the same words, right?
Yes, sir.
It was a typo.
Okay.
It should have been naturalization.
Okay.
That's what it should have been, versus nationalization.
Okay.
And when you read that piece in there, then you said that Tim said that word nationalization, according to the proclamation, where is that in the proclamation that talk about nationalization?
It's fine.
Where's that?
It's not in there.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you read it. You
Right.
said that Tim put it in there and said, according to the proclamation, we must be nationalized, da 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 da.
Right.
But I know it's not in there.
Okay.
But I'm saying, me and him had conversations about that book. Because I told him back then, I said, Mo, this book need to be mandated for everybody to learn and understand what you've done. When I first met him, his brother asked me, he said, Mo, my brother want to meet you. So when he took me up on Bell Avenue to meet all his staff down in the basement in the circle.
When you got there,
huh?
I was sitting right there when you came up.
You was there, Mo? Oh, that's right. So then you know what the deal is, then, Mo. Yeah. When he told him, Mo, go upstairs and get the resurrection book, and he put 2 seals in it, whatever. But anyway, I'm just saying. But we always talked about that book.
Okay.
But there is some typo errors in it.
Okay.
Seriously.
Praise Allah.
Real quickly, but when you read that, he says, Tim is saying himself that you can't be nationalized. Grand Chief Timothy Dingman said himself, you can't be nationalized until the European
Right.
is compensated.
Compensated,
Have
that's right.
they been compensated?
They have not.
No.
Right.
Right? So how can you be in a national situation and they haven't been compensated?
But that goes back to my question, my original question. So
Okay.
the question is this, right? You said that out of the three in Baltimore, you said 2 got off the foundation.
Mm-hmm. Tim used to teach. He used to teach it.
Okay.
German Bay did too.
Okay.
But then Tim started doing Masonicism, just like German Bay.
Okay.
That's what was going on.
Okay.
But his brother Richard kept on going. But like I said, me and Tim used to talk about the policy all the time. That's why I was in the book. Yeah.
Islam.
Mm-hmm. I'm just not talking there.
Okay.
I've been around a minute.
Grand Sheik, turn it on up for me. Call Grand Sheik, turn it on up.
Oh, wait, Grand Sheik. Oh, come on, Mo. Okay.
Brother G, turn it out. What I want to, because I have a meeting at 6, and I'm going to be late, but it's all praise be to Allah. I want to stay and listen because we really scratching.
Come on in front for the camera, Mo.
We really scratching the surface on this right now because I understand that the one thing I'm hearing is that we have to be together to make it happen.
That's right. Right.
So the path to coming together just has to be clear. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Praise Allah.
Can I say this?
Yes,
We
sir.
all spokes in the wheel. The hub is noble drive lead the prophet. The will is Allah. So like you said, we all have something to bring to the table. That's the spoke.
See, one of the questions that I wrote, one of the points I was writing down as I was sitting and listening was that how do we get to the point where it is beneficial to us all, irregardless of where we're at in terms of quote unquote bodies? Because at the end of the day, I never question anyone's faith. You know, just because we may be under different leadership, our belief in that one God and that prophet sent by that God is can't be changed. It's just a matter because we talked about, someone mentioned it, salvation, right?
Yeah.
Because our prophet said that it was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. They're actually attached. They're actually connected because he said that what we were doing and clinging to the names of deluded slavery was a sin. So we had to get that straightened out in order for us to achieve that divine salvation because we were stuck.
Right.
So, like I said, I know I'm gonna be late, but
Appreciate that.
we have to, you know, how do we get to that point? So what I wanted to ask was, because we got to continue this part, because as you know, well, I'm thinking as some of you may know, we had a meeting in July of July 20th, in 2019, we had a meeting, a conference, if you will. And this is one of the points that came up, and something that we began to start working on in the year, the following year, or which would be last year, and dealing with the census, because we understand that status has to be corrected. We understand that part. We understand that that was something the prophet left for us to do. So I don't think this particular part of it is a one meeting thing, because we gotta get to a page where we can say, this is what we're going to do, and respectfully to everyone, this is how we're going to do it. Because in our efforts, I have found that if you're not inclusive of everyone, you know, because sometimes some fezzes or turbans get too big for the room. That's right. Yeah. So if it's not inclusive, like if they're not brought in to know, then there's hesitancy in getting it done. Which only thing it does is pass on the same issue to the next generation. That's right. We should not be wanting to do that.
Can I answer that?
Yes, no.
Well, if law governs all events, then it's not what I say, it's not what you say, it's what the law says. So once we read what the law said, then it shouldn't be a problem. That's all I'm saying.
But I want to make one more suggestion, that if we continue this, I mean, I know we're supposed to have next, which the 14th is the second Sunday of next month. Again, right? But yeah, I'm looking at it because I'm in, you know. But that we continue with the Grand Sheik Rat, basically we can get those deep questions answered. Because I hear about getting on page, right? But I think I know what it means. How do we do it where she, pray the L, the leader, how does he facilitate that? For the G turn the L, how does he facilitate that? You understand what I'm saying? In each body, and the membership, I can present it to the membership, and they'll move on it. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, let me just interject this. See, like I said, I'm not pouncing on my chest. Not at all. I'm about the movement. It's about the Father's work. And a man is known by his works and deeds. All I'm saying is that, see, you all haven't seen what the government has confirmed. That's all. And once we come together and you read what they signed off on, then you have the will to choose. But it's all about the law and the prophet.
Are you going to be here the 21st with us?
21st?
Yes, ma'am. Have you told them all about the 21st?
Oh, next Sunday? No, I haven't. I was going now.
Okay. Well, we're going to be here. But Mose, can I ask, to get to what you want, Grand Sheik, we need time to do it.
Just long.
And so the next time we come on the 14th,
21st.
No, 21st is for the Sheik's demonstration. But next time we come on the 21st, Mo, you know, if I'm just asking, send your people to run your house, or you come out and do some more work.
I got you. You lock the door.
Please lock
Let me make a quick announcement. For the Moors that got to make a run, we be open. Our 1 year anniversary of being open here at 2900 Pressman Street is next Sunday on the 21st. We've been open for a year, so we have a drumming band, and we have someone playing the trumpet and representing the prophet sounding the trumpet when he first started the movement. And we're going to march and counter march around the neighborhood in celebration exalting the Holy Prophet in the Moorish Temple. So it's next Sunday at 3:00. Anybody want to come through and march and counter march for us? But it's our 1 year anniversary of being here at 2900 Preston.
When you have to do something at your temple, we'll be there to support it also. But Mose, I want some time to sit down and draw out everything that the Grand Sheik is talking about. I want to be able to make it plain to answer your question: who, what, when, where, and how, and then more importantly, why. I want that opportunity, just like we get a Grand Sheik his opportunity. We're gonna give you yours in the next month, because there's a deeper aspect of the law. There's the spirit of the law that we have got to come into the knowledge of pertaining to this organization.
We need to talk about, you got a minute, Grand Chief? Just 1 minute, Grand Chief, and then I'm gonna sit on that. Morris, this is the MSTFA right here. And this right here is a funnel. Everything that we have, all that been talked about, all we can possibly talk about, and especially excluding that human knowledge. If we would but funnel it down, it'll come out of our salvation. The path is right there. That's the path. Funnel our path down, we're going to come out to the Moorish Temple of America. And once we get on the Moorish Temple of America, get in the Moorish Temple of America, we get on a very narrow road. And in the narrow road, that means that we got to deal with all of this, all of that, to be on the road. That's what we need to be, Mo. That's what we need to be, on this narrow path. And this narrow path, where the prophet says, will lead us, feel our, therefore all the days of our life, and to walk in the paths. We need to be able to get to the paths that Allah has opened before us. Each and every one of us in here. We need to get on, but it's a narrow path, and it's straight and it's narrow. We can't look to the left or to the right. We got to go straight. And that means that but first of all, of course, all of this has got to be dealt with. All of this. And I'm just praying to Allah that we are men. That if I say something, if I disagree with you, this is one thing I can say about this man, Grand Chief, Brandon Bay. As much as I've disagreed with him, we've always come to love one another. You know, and that's the beauty of us. And if we could do that with all of us. If I can disagree with you, Grand Chief Turner Ill, out of respect, you know, we're still gonna love each other. You know, because love is what we talked about earlier when I make reference to the universe. Tap into that. But this is what we got to do. And this, well, you know.
Islam. Can I interject something?
Go ahead, Reggie.
I don't know if y'all familiar.
Very familiar with him. I'm reading this morning.
Oh, good. I brought this out to show that Timothy, Timothy Dingwall and Richard Dingwall are they the same. And that's what this article, I don't know whether y'all seen this before. And the other thing is, but you know, now this is real what's on my mind. Brother Turner, before you leave, Grand Chief Turner, before you leave, I just want to ask this question. I just want to put this on the floor real quick, because I got to go too. Now, we can come together and agree, but what about these other bodies out here? You know, we in Baltimore can agree, and let's say we unify, but what about the rest of the Moors?
That's an example. If we can do that more,
yes, sir.
Everybody
follow suit. That's right. We know that. We know that.
Or listen.
That's right. We know that.
Where she charity, we don't wear that. Charity starts at home.
That's right. Yeah, if we can do that.
I mean, I see that. I just asked the question. I just want to ask the question.
When we do that, we see that. We do that.
Well, we're gonna ask brothers out there. We're gonna ask them. Who got the camera on me? Make sure it's up in my face right here. Give me a mirror. Anybody got a mirror? Bring me a mirror. Bring me a mirror. Got a mirror in here anywhere? How much you got a mirror in your pocketbook? Because I want you to know that I'm talking to myself, and I don't mean to be vulgar in saying this, but I'm telling you, Moors. I'm just gonna say, be a little bit more. I'm gonna be stronger.
That's right.
Come on out. Your babies are what's at stake.
Tell them.
Well, when I was in the Department of Juvenile Justice,
it made me cry to look in there and see all those L's and B's. Because you are so weak. Go pair. And come on, let's get this work done. Go 2 pairs if you need it. Come on, get this work done. Well, we got to stop. We're sacrificing our children. For what? Nothing. You ain't getting nothing for running your children out there in the street. You ain't getting nothing for keeping your children out there in the street, man. Because ain't nothing out there in the street. You're sacrificing. You did the same thing that our fathers did. Sacrifice for a little money, a little this, a little that, and ain't none of them out to nothing. Grandparents, come on up here and let's get this work done. Islam, Mo.
Islam, Mo. Islam.
And I mean it.
Islam, Mo.
And I mean it. Grandparents, come on up here and let's get this work done.
Islam, Mo. Islam, Mo. Islam.
Was that apologize?
Okay.
This is yours, right?
No. Mo, just put this up here. I don't know. Mo, did you put this up here?
Was it your comment? You only kind of deal?
Here are your waters right here.
No.
He just acknowledged that
Islam, Moors. Moors, we're going to close out in prayer. Another excellent meeting. T.R. Johnson Bay, can you put the prophet back up for me?
It's right here. It's right here.
Moors, I'm going to give honor to all the grand bodies for coming out. Another excellent meeting, Moors. You know, we're getting a little progress done, a little bit at a time. And it's going to take some longer meetings.
I gotta take it in there, or you gotta take it off.
Locked doors. And you know, as she said, man, y'all got people in place. Let them run your houses and y'all get this work done. It's all more. Bring the babies out more. Make sure the babies got their masks on, please. Let's say our babies here more. Let's say our babies here at 29 and our babies at 10:55. No, you good. Bring all the babies out. Y'all babies come up front and close us out. Okay, excuse me for 1 minute more. Can I get this front right here? How many babies we got? Let these babies stand in these chairs. I'll wipe them out. Y'all stand in these chairs, boy. Give me a chair for each one of these babies, somebody. Sergeant Arms, Marquise, somebody stand right here. Kid. Stand up on that chair, man. And face these. Another baby, stand up there. Y'all face teeth and clothes out. This is what we got at stake, boys.
I don't feel wrong.
Because you told us where.
Yeah, back on the Kel. Get down, Kel. You don't want to that one to back that up on the Kel. Come on, Davion, over here.
They gonna go get their pheasants.
All right, hurry up with y'all pheasants, more.
Carter, who's your pheasant?
Come on, with your pheasants under here. All right, you can go ahead up there. 1 second more, let them get their feds on, they close us out. Somebody get a good picture of these babies, man. These chairs closing us out. That's what we need, boys. Come around, no, y'all come around here. Come behind the officer. Climb over and get in your chair. Watch your foot. Climb over and get in your chair. Islam. Y'all close us out in prayer.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah, my Creator, my God, and my salvation, by night and by day, through the Holy Prophet, Amen.
gonna get it this week. Oh, matter of fact, you gonna mail it to you? Well, I mean, it's up to you, man. I got it right home. Okay. My mind look just where I said I could just put it in the envelope. Okay. Mail it to you, bring it to you. What you do, okay. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it this week. You're gonna get it this week.